Coming up, parents are outraged after a school puts on a trip for all their non-English speaking children only.
The hero policeman back at work after being left for dead in the road by a burglar. And one man and his spectacular collection of paper tax discs. That's ITV Central at 6. Coming up, former Guantanamo Bay detainee Mozambique walks free from prison after 7 charges of terrorism are dropped. The details coming up.
Now the latest ITV News Central with Bob Warman and Samina Ali Khan.
Hello and welcome on this first day of October. On our programme tonight, a former Guantanamo Bay detainee walks free from prison after terror charges are dropped.
The confidence between the police and the Muslim communities in Birmingham is going to be really badly affected.
Parents' anger over a school trip they say was only for children who speak English as their second language.
The police officer who was almost killed trying to tackle a burglar returns to work after an 18-month recovery.
And the end of the road for the tax disc.
Good evening. Former Guantanamo Bay detainee Mozambique has walked free from prison after 7 terror-related charges were dropped. It comes after new material was disclosed to the prosecution. Police will not say what that is. The charges were all connected to the conflict in Syria.
Mr Big from Hall Green in Birmingham had always admitted travelling to the country, but insisted his visits were humanitarian. Tonight, as Charlotte Cross reports, questions are being asked about the impact his arrest will have had on community relations.
Mozambique walks out of Belmarsh prison a free man and into the arms of family, friends and supporters. For the past 7 months, he's been in jail, awaiting a trial which was due to start on Monday. But today, when he appeared before the Old Bailey via video link from the high-security prison, he was acquitted when the prosecution offered no evidence following a review of the case. Mr Begg was arrested at his home in February this year on suspicion of attending a terrorist training camp and helping terrorists involved in the conflict in Syria. Demonstrations followed. Mr Begg's supporters say he never made any secret of his trips to Syria, twice informing the authorities. Today, they welcomed his release.
There have been a lot of issues around his treatment in the case that raise a lot of questions. Why a man who was so high profile, that was so open and keen to defend himself, wasn't given bail, for example? Why he couldn't have been held at home? Why was he kept in Belmarsh in the manner in which he was, when there was clear evidence that was causing extra harm to him because of his history of Guantanamo Bay?
Mr Begg was first suspected of involvement in terrorism in 2002, when he was detained in Pakistan by US authorities and transferred to Guantanamo Bay military base in Cuba. He spent nearly 3 years in detention before being released without charge. He eventually received an out-of-court settlement from the British government, who he sued over their alleged complicity in his detention. The sum was undisclosed, but thought to be £1 million. His arrest this year was high-profile and controversial.
It puts a total lie to what the police and the government have been saying. In fact, when he was arrested, the police went around various community leaders, even organised meetings telling them how cast iron case they have got against Muslims. That was all a lie. So I think today again, the confidence between the police and the Muslim communities in Birmingham is going to be really badly affected.
When Mr Begg was arrested and after, did a lot of work by talking to our local communities and discussing with them what had happened. We'll do the same. We again know that will be hard over the next few weeks and perhaps a bit longer. But we'll look to have that dialogue so they understand that as soon as we could withdraw the case, once it was clear there was no prospect of a conviction, that we did that and we did the right thing as soon as we could.
Tonight, Mozambique is heading back to his home in Hall Green, a relieved and innocent man who supporters say will continue to campaign against injustice and urge all communities for tolerance and understanding. Charlotte Cross, ITV News Central.
In other news, a 22-year-old man has been remanded in custody by magistrates, charged with the murder of a 2-year-old boy from Coventry. Toddler Khalil Hussein died from a serious head injury at Birmingham Children's Hospital last year, having been taken to Coventry's University Hospital the previous day. Keith Brown from the Stoke area will appear at Warwickshire Crown Court on Friday. A 24-year-old woman, Samina Kosser, has been charged with neglect and allowing the child's death.
On to other news, 6 men have appeared in court, charged in connection with the murder of a mother of 2. Hayley Poynton, who was 30, was shot dead at a house in Sunnydale Road in Hinckley in February last year. 2 24-year-old men have been charged with murder and 4 others have been charged with assisting an offender. 5 of the men are from Coventry, the other from Rugby.
A 28-year-old man and a 26-year-old woman have been arrested on suspicion of murder after a man was found dead at his flat in Spark Hill on Thursday. Police arrived at Showell Green Lane to find the 41-year-old had been assaulted.
Parents of children at a primary school in Kidderminster say they're outraged that a school trip was, they say, only offered to non-English speakers.
The trip was part of a central government scheme that aims to help families with low literacy rates. Callum Watkinson reports.
Children leave St Mary's School in Kidderminster after another day. But Peyton Rogers won't be going back. Her mother's pulled her out and enrolled her somewhere else because she feels that a school trip yesterday excluded English-speaking children.
I got a phone call at 1:45 in the afternoon. Some of the parents got told in the morning that non-English went on a trip and it was organised, but it wasn't on no news feed. Nobody got told anything, and yesterday we found out why they were on the trip. I just thought it was a disgrace, to be honest.
The trip to this farm near Bridgnorth was paid for out of central government's Family Learning Fund, which aims to improve literacy in those who struggle with English. Though the fund does not exclude people whose mother tongue is English, many of those it helps speak English as a second language. And when other children from St Mary's come here, their parents have to pay.
My daughter went to Ray's Farm last year with St Mary's and I had to pay £10. As in, yesterday's trip, none of them had to pay.
I've just been into the school to ask if they'd like to give a comment. They declined, but they have issued a statement through Worcestershire County Council. In it they said that they do offer a number of learning projects on the basis of need that look to support parents when it comes to improving literacy, numeracy and IT skills. There's no doubt though that this particular project has left some parents here feeling as though their children have been discriminated against. Isn't it a bit drastic to pull your daughter out of school over this?
No, I don't think so, no. To be honest, all of it I think is a mess and there's no going back, and I'm not having my daughter in a school like that.
The Family Learning Fund is intended to help those who find English hard, not exclude those who speak it fluently. In discussions between this school and the parents, the difference seems to have been lost in translation. Callum Watkinson, ITV News, Kidderminster.
In a barnstorming speech to close the Tory party conference, David Cameron has told voters in the Midlands, you have a straight choice next May, me or Ed Miliband as Prime Minister. On health, he declared there would be no more mid-staff scandals, insisting the NHS was safe in his hands.
He made bold promises to scrap 0 hours contracts and increase income tax thresholds. He claimed that only under the Conservatives could the country's fortunes be restored. Our political correspondent Alison McKenzie reports.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Prime Minister.
David Cameron knew this was his chance to impress with promises he aims to fulfil. No one on minimum wage to pay tax at all. The 40p tax rate to kick in only on earnings of £50,000. And on health, a rejection of Labour's claim that only they can be trusted.
It was the Labour Party who gave us the scandal at mid-staffs. Elderly people begging for water and dying of neglect. And for me, this is personal. I'm someone who has relied on the NHS and whose family knows more than most just how important it is. And how dare they suggest I would ever put that at risk for other people's children? How dare they frighten those who rely on a national health service?
He was passionate too about the West Midlands economy, manufacturing on the rise.
We're making Britain proud again. Car engines not imported from Germany, but built down the road in Wolverhampton. Record levels of employment, record numbers of apprenticeships. Britain regaining its purpose, its pride and its confidence.
He talked of the UKIP threat, saying a vote for Mr Farage would allow Labour into number 10.
I say let's not go back to square one. Let us finish what we have begun. Let us build a Britain we are proud to call home, for you, for your family, for everyone.
It was bold, it was passionate, and the party faithful keen to big it up outside the conference.
That he's going to provide, like he has done for the last 4 years, strong leadership for the West Midlands, for our country. And when you compare that to the choice of the next general election with the weak, ineffective leadership of Ed Miliband, I'm absolutely certain that come the general election, people will make the right choice.
His stall laid out, the election battle underway.
And straight from that party conference, Alison joins us now. Alison, a very passionate David Cameron at the end of the conference with his speech there. Lots of promises, but can he deliver?
The big question tonight, Samina, you've got it right. He talked a lot about a future Tory government. He's got to win the next election and get a majority. He talked of things happening by 2020, for example, those increased tax thresholds to £12,500 for all earners and the 40p rate kicking in at £50,000. But 2020 is a long time away, so lots to happen. This was about saying, trust me, don't trust Mr Miliband, a straight choice, he said there. He said it's a waste of time voting UKIP. He's well aware there's been a big threat from UKIP in recent days. But really, it's now going to be unpicked. How can he cost it? Is it just a promise? But everyone likes a tax giveaway. And of course, they're back 3 times with the Tory conference in future days here in Birmingham.
Alison, thank you very much.
You're watching ITV News Central. Still to come tonight, we say farewell to the tax disc after almost 100 years stuck to our windscreens.
And it's turning cooler in the Midlands. Find out exactly what's in store over the next few days. I'll have your forecast in a few minutes' time.
A woman from Birmingham whose young son died of asthma says she's thrilled that schools can now legally keep their own emergency inhaler. Kim Douglas spent 12 years campaigning for a change in the law and believes it will save lives.
Asthma is one of the most common childhood conditions and typically affects 2 children in every classroom. Our education correspondent Peter Byrne has this special report.